Peace, I'm Masood, mikeflo Asante. I'm an artist, I'm a consultant, and I am a creator.
Teachers oftentimes are not equipped to handle a student that might be dealing with severe depression, severe anxiety, or being bipolar, or whatever the case may be.
I think that it's important to teach the entire child, but then that involves a more homogeneous approach to learning, moreover. But so often, everything is compartmentalized and it's not a holistic approach. And so, gym is gym, English is
Right.
English, 8 is 8 years old, 9 is 9 years old, and the rubric and standards and all these things are very regimented for machines.
Mm-hmm.
And machines are not for people. Systems are for machines,
Mm-hmm.
and people don't really fit into those boxes necessarily. So a lot of young people slip between the cracks, especially if they aren't a quote unquote behavior challenge or problem.
Mm-hmm.
If they come from quote unquote good homes,
Right.
there's this thing called just the social promotion of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And before you know it, a child has matriculated from being um, an 8 year old third grader to a 14-year old seventh or eighth grader, and still hasn't potentially uncovered or answers to very prevalent questions that are immediate in that
Mm-hmm.
child's ongoing everyday life. Who am I? Who am I developing into? Where did I come from? How do I feel about that? How do I
Mm-hmm.
feel about some of the decisions that I think my parents or guardians or grandmothers and cousins and uncles are making? How do I feel about how I'm being perceived?
Mm-hmm.
How do I think I'm being perceived? How do I perceive myself? What's my mission, goal, purpose?
Mm-hmm.
These things aren't really talked about in
No.
depth with children. It's just like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? When the schools are put and the teachers are put under such extreme pressure to turn around turn around a product, that meaning a child, to turn around a product for monetary gains and goals from the state, from the Fed, that and train the monkeys up to pass the test, to justify certain funding and things of that nature. A lot of these other things, they go by the wayside.
So, what would you say to, a young boy, a teenager, or even a grown man that still battles with, if it's acceptable for him to feel anxious or depressed because the weight of the world is on his shoulders, to appear
Mm-hmm.
strong, to appear
Mm-hmm.
like he still has it all together, to
Mm-hmm.
um, showcase that that's power, as opposed to, okay, if I'm vulnerable in this moment and I just want to say, man, I'm going through a really hard time. I don't even know how to even put it into words, but I need help.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where do you think that stems from, and what advice would you give?
Um, One, it stems from, in many ways, just the blind leading the blind. The hoods that we grow up in, the communities we grow up in, celebrate certain ignorance. And so a lot of young people just don't pay attention. They don't get the guidance, because the people who they're asking, even if they're not verbally asking for the guidance,
Mm-hmm.
the people who are there to in the role to guide them
Mm-hmm.
are products of that same system. Teachers or school administrators want to be able to have the answers for children, but oftentimes they don't have the answers, and oftentimes they also don't see the strength in the vulnerability of not knowing.
Right.
So they pose and they fake it to hopefully they make it, and the children don't really buy into that. And he was stumped, and I always encourage the students, like, first thing in the morning, If you're still getting your things together, you doing homework from last night, you're preparing, you're studying, you're cramming. If you need any help, come holler at me, right? I have a degree, an undergrad degree in speech. I'm not the math teacher, but I know that about me. So he brings up some what looked like another language to me in terms of the formulas and all these quadratics or whatever, and
Right.
sines and cosines and tangents. I don't even know what the hell it was. It might not even been statistics. It might have been calculus.
Right.
And he brought that to me, and I was like, yo, bro, I don't even know what this is. Okay? But we can figure this out together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? What that did for him, and I can speak for him because he's, in hindsight, and further, as we matriculated and grew, he's grown. He's like 27 years old, got a baby and stuff now.
Wow.
He told me that my presence meant more than anything I could have tactically taught him or anything. But a situation like that humanizes the teacher to a student. It says like, okay, first of all, I knew that some of these teachers didn't know every damn thing, okay? But here's one who's honest enough and straight up with me enough to say, you know what, I don't know. So then the student who sees the teacher is smart.
Right.
Now the student doesn't see anything wrong with not knowing per se,
Right.
and gathering it, and researching and getting knowledge. It's saying like, oh, he's cool, he's smart, and here's just something that he doesn't know. Hell, I don't know it either. Maybe I'm not dumb.